No construction.
He's dealt with technical, he's dealt with
Yeah.
Final design and environmental documents must be
Even
resubmitted.
then, this hearing that she was saying.
Environmental, historic, yep. So,
We may have no choice. Send us what you got. We'll
this
take
phase one,
Okay.
everything has to get done.
And that's starting.
When they awarded it formally, so November 18th.
Who's this?
My
We
associate.
got this.
Yeah, we can.
I've never met
Oh,
Hi, is this
Mike? Mike?
Nice to meet you.
her. Your name's Dana?
Nadine.
Nadine? Nice to
Yes.
meet you.
And this is my friend from our office.
He just wanted to get out of the office today.
That's what he told me.
Yeah, yeah. Do I have a newspaper here or anything?
Not till we get the-
Not here, no.
Hey, did you know they approved the LiDAR?
Chairman, I'll get my
Yeah.
for trading, I just said
Okay,
we're
okay.
part of it. Come back for trade.
I think, I remember that was a question, wasn't it?
Mhm. They said no, and they kept writing back, no, 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 and we kept saying yes, yes, yes.
Is it in the environmental?
It's under, throughout the study by running a LiDAR analysis to assess the actual topography of the watershed.
You know what I heard from South Dakota? That it was working on back to other projects, so getting it back to the.
Can't do every day.
They used to have a project in for years.
How about,
Uh-oh.
I did.
It's a good thing you stopped downstairs.
I might want to know that.
This is the one that was originally for your good.
True.
What do you want it?
She's here.
No, I don't think it meant.
Thanks, Steve.
Very welcome.
I don't have cards. That's gonna be enough money for cards.
Just verify for sure if that LiDAR.
If it's in there, then I'm gonna say yes.
Yeah, it's in here?
It's in
We'll
there.
wait just a couple minutes until our minute taker gets here.
Absolutely.
And I just saw her downstairs, so I know she's close by.
Should I hand this out now?
Sure.
Surprises?
You guys go first.
Here you go, or whatever.
Dan's here now, we'll start.
Warmer, I like this.
Sean, you wanna go up there and sit? You're up first.
Yes.
How many of you are there? We can get more chairs for you.
And then when,
Yes.
Mike is just here visiting.
Okay, do you want us to bring up a chair for Mike?
No, he's not.
Oh, we think
Which
you
mic
are.
you talking about?
I'll be fine right here. I'll take notes.
You're front and center.
Hey, my son.
Oh,
Yeah,
boy.
you're front and center.
Who else did you want? Just thanks.
Captain Recorder or Treasurer? Here today?
We do, yes.
And we'll reconvene. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon. Well, here's Mary here to say congratulations, ma'am. Colorado County was given the Phase 1 FEMA grant for the Deep Creek project.
Introduction.
I'm
Yes.
Nadine Wadsworth, I'm sorry. This,
She's our hazard mitigation grants officer. I'm Kent Atwood, the current state hazard mitigation officer and now the new grants bureau chief for Montana Disaster Emergency Services.
Well, congrats on that.
This is Franklin Slifka,
Oh, Frank, how you doing?
Commissioner.
Okay.
I'm Elaine Gravely
I remember. Nice to meet you
So-
again.
and Laura Ober.
Hi, nice to meet you, Nadine. Good to see you again.
And everybody knows Sean.
So we are here today to go over the award packet for this. That way if there's any questions or how we at the state we need a grant to do manage, we can go over all that right now.
Is Mike gonna be real involved with this?
That is something we need to decide today. I'd like him to be involved in it.
Mike, let's put you up here at the table too.
Okay, I got a chair.
They need a point of contact. Whether that's Mike, whether that's me, I don't know who that person is. We just need a designated point of contact. And that person will be, probably in charge of the administration of the grant.
The financials as well as the programmatic.
We've got a document in here, we'll get to in a few minutes.
So we'll have to, I would assume, work back and forth with Tammy on all the reports and get everything square, so.
Okay, go for it.
Awesome, so we're gonna go on this first page. And this is from our office to the county saying congratulations, yay! That FEMA has approved the phase one Deep Creek project, which is just the engineering and the study. The total amount approved for the project is $147,000. Of that, FEMA is gonna pay 75%, which is the $110,250. And that the county's match will be $36,750. The last line of this talks about an administrative allowance. We at the state receive management costs. And Kent has set aside 2% of the state's management costs as pass-through for all of our regular projects. This is to help the county manage the grant. So later on, we'll get into what's allowable to be used for this, $2,250. And this is 100% pass-through. The county doesn't match it. This is truly to help you manage this.
We're gonna need it.
And but this also can be used as a match.
Right.
Yes, sir.
I just want to point out, and we'll talk about this in the following documents, but these are maximums, these award dollars amounts. We could reimburse you at this point in phase one up to a maximum of $110,250. That is, if you get a maximum amount of match of $36,750 or more. If you're only able to acquire $30,000 of match, then we cannot exceed that 25%, 75% ratio, and we can only reimburse you based on $30,000 match up to $90,000. Is that okay? We'll discuss that more, but we're not giving you $110,000 today. We're just letting you know you could apply for and get that much if you make the match.
Now, can we get in-kind on this?
Absolutely.
Yes.
And I have
Just
the
30
link.
seconds.
And we have the DNRC grant for $50,000, which will cover at least phase one and then, some of phase two. So we have the match dollars set aside for this.
And planning, all this planning that had been happening on before that, I know that those hours have been tracked.
We have a substantial amount of that, so we're gonna
Because I've,
go back through that record.
because I've attended a couple of the planning meetings as well. So,
First, we'll set them in.
it also talks about the first quarterly performance report being due January 10th. My reports to FEMA are due at the end of the month, so I ask that they get to me by the 10th of the month so I can compile everybody's into one big report. And I do send out reminders, so whoever you can pick to be your point of contact, I'll send them an email around the end of December saying, hey, don't forget your quarterly reports are due on the 10th of the month.
Perfect.
Can that be sent
Electronic,
electronic?
absolutely 100%, and I even have it, there's a hard copy here, but there's also an electronic copy on your thumb stick that I gave you. All the boxes are able to be edited, nothing is locked, very easy. We make it as easy as we can.
Thank you.
Very welcome. So this next packet is actually the FEMA award. The one thing I want to draw your attention to is that this grant, this part of the grant is only open for 11 months. This is just phase one. So from the date that FEMA awarded this, which is November 18th, the county has 11 months to get the engineering done and submit it back to me so we can submit it up to FEMA to check for eligibility and find out what the actual project for phase two is gonna be.
So that, does that mean we have to submit it by 11 months from now, or does that mean it has to be approved?
It has to be submitted.
Okay.
I have to close this first part of phase one out to FEMA saying, okay, they're done, they've completed their engineering, and here's the results of the engineering.
Okay.
So it looks like that's Friday, October 17th, 2014,
Mhm.
deadline.
So I'm gonna take it all the way almost to the back of this, to the environmental report. And it looks as though,
Page 202,
yep, on the,
Federal Emergency Management Agency Hazard Mitigation Programs.
Is that part of the stuff we got emailed out?
yes,
This one?
Keep going, looks like this.
Oh, page 2.
Yep, page 202 here.
Looks like that.
What's that?
so Sean and I were talking about the LiDAR.
So on this.
We had kind of thought back and forth, you know, about the LiDAR. Saying why, it's mapping from a small aircraft, aerial.
Stand for? Light detection and ranging.
Mhm. And it's a way to check the topography to find out why there's some sediment within the Deep Creek watershed area. And FEMA was saying no, and we were saying, well, yes, we need this. And they came back and it looks as though they're gonna allow the LiDAR to go through. So, and it looks as though Daniel would like the final design and the LiDAR documents to be submitted
Right.
with this next year. But there is no other environmental criteria at this point, because it's just the engineering of it. So it's not gonna need any permits. Are you gonna, you're not gonna need any permits, you just the engineering.
You're not moving dirt, are you?
We're not
No,
moving dirt,
it's,
okay.
it says that there cannot be any dirt moved
Yeah,
in the environmental.
we should be good.
Okay,
And no permits required yet.
We'll get to that at phase 2 though.
right.
Yes, absolutely.
So then, when the closeout is done, because there is no environmental requirements, all it needs to be is a sign page submitted with the other final closeout letter, which I can, we'll get to that one. And I'm here, Sean can talk to me when we talk to whatever, anybody, anything. So this next section is the state and local agreement between us and the county.
Which is that?
Oh, I'm sorry. So, state and local agreement, right?
You're right there.
Oh,
Yeah,
yeah.
right here.
Okay.
We'll go through a few items in here, but this is something maybe the attorney should look over. Nothing fishy, just so that everybody understands what's expected from both sides as far as the grant management is concerned. So,
Do you have an extra one of these packets that we can give to her?
I do, ma'am.
Thanks.
And here, this is. So number 2, the county needs to appoint a applicant representative, whomever you want my point of contact to be when I have questions, I can call this person. They're also the ones that will do the performance reports that submit to me quarterly and do the financial reimbursements as needed. So there's a document in here, which is actually the next page, that would go on county letterhead, scanned and emailed to me on whom you would like the applicant agent to be my point of contact.
Nadine, we discussed that at our last meeting. Do you prefer that to be a county employee, or would it be wiser to appoint Sean as the technical expertise?
That would be up to you.
It's your choice, however, we'll get to it in a few minutes here. What we expect to see is performance reports along with a financial report and match accrued, so if you're requesting a reimbursement, we can put it all together and shoot it back to you. So those skills or skill sets. If you want your treasurer to send reports to your applicant agent, if it's Sean, then he can forward it all at once.
Mhm.
That's the goal, so we don't get several different requests from several different people, and what are you asking us to do? We don't know.
Sure.
And there's some other documents that I've included in this to make it easier for the financial aspect, just to cut the paperwork in half, something that we're both familiar with, that we can thumb through really quick, make it even easier for everybody.
Okay,
So
very good.
we tried to make it as simple as we could. Number 4, the applicant agrees to provide necessary local share funding for completion of this project. Kent did talk about if you only get the $30,000 in match, we can only reimburse up to $90,000. We can't ever exceed that 75-25 split. The applicant will use these funds solely for the purposes of which these funds are provided, and as approved by the governor's authorized representative, to include utilizing qualified and experienced contractors, preferably those who have authored of prior FEMA approved plans. So generally, it'd be nice to have a technical advisor, but that would be up to you. I don't think there's, you will begin work within 90 days of this formal award, which I don't think there's 90 days left to spare, honestly, with only 11 months to get the engineering done, so. Even this right now is considered 90 days. We've begun work, we're formally awarding the county with this.
Okay.
Talks about complying with all the provisions of the Hatch Act. You will comply with the National Flood Insurance Program. You will not enter into any cost plus percentage or contracts for completion of this project, and you will not enter into any contracts in which payment is contingent. We are a reimbursement agency only, so we need to see that the funds were expended before we can reimburse the county. And then I would need you, ma'am, to sign it, and then scan and email it to me. I don't need original copies, the county can keep the original copies, and you could just send me this back page, and that would be it. And then the next page would be who the county is going to appoint as their applicant agent on county letterhead. So the monitoring plan. We at the office will conduct those reviews, which would be the quarterly performance reports or any reimbursements. We will come back, actually, I won't come back at the end to check the engineering. We'll just go over the engineering at the end.
Right, this is a little unusual. FEMA phases a project like this. Obviously, we're in two different parts. So this monitoring plan is geared toward the construction portion of your project, which we do want to come back and see at periodic intervals.
And then we would monitor more frequently if this was considered a high-risk project. Large amounts of federal share, high public interest, things of that nature.
And this one, we might see some scope of work creep, just based on your engineering, and, we could be dealing with that issue too.
Well, we definitely have identified, I think, a couple of areas outside of what we looked at originally, but then some of the areas are also dropping off, so we're trading essentially. But
We have a little bit about that here in the next couple of sections, but should the scope of work materially change, we want you to understand that don't proceed. We have to notify FEMA, hey, we're not wanting to do what we originally put in our application. We think there's a better way. We have to let FEMA know and get their blessing.
So this next one is the funding commitment letter, which I know that everyone should be familiar with. There was one that was attached to the original application. The difference between this one and that one is that the other one said in applying for, this one says in accepting this grant. Talks about well-documented, in-kind or soft match, however you would like to match this grant. This would go on county letterhead and sent back to me with those other 2 documents. So this is the original application. I know Sean is very well versed with this. Whenever a reimbursement is requested, I ask that you tie it back to one of these engineering line items, this phase 1 part. You know, we're doing project management, engineering, whatever the case might be. And these are pretty broad spectrums, so it'll be easier to tie it back to. And that way it'll help me and FEMA understand exactly what's happening during this. When you seek reimbursement for that administrative allowance, that $2,000 that I talked about at the very beginning, I need your reimbursement for the project separate with the proof of match. This $2,000 would also need to be separate, saying this is what we're seeking reimbursement for this administrative allowance for. And it doesn't need to be matched, so, and I have a list of eligible activities for what you can seek reimbursement for that administrative allowance for.
Yeah, before we go on, this is the original cost estimate for the entire project, and that's why these numbers are so large.
Yes.
FEMA has, based on consultations with, John, you were involved with that.
Yeah.
So what do you need for phase 1 pre-engineering? And so we culled the phase 1 assessment and a little bit of these others here. And so that's what we're awarding today, just your pre-engineering phase 1 assessments. And some management administration costs, et cetera.
So this next one is the quarterly performance report. On here, it has the application number, the project number that FEMA's given it, and then the period of performance is that 11-month time span that we've been talking about. And this report would end at the end of this month. So pretty much it would be pretty easy this quarter. We got the grant award. That's about it. Yay, we got the grant award and we picked this person. You can just email this to me, nothing else. Sorry, I'm the only parent on call right now, so I should have had my phone on silent. But it's very easy, the boxes drop down, get smaller, get bigger as you need, and that's about it.
And all of this, again, is on that thumbstick.
Absolutely, it's all electronic. So if there's any questions ever and you can't get a hold of me or Kent, this next packet will take you through any questions you might have. So, periodic payments, it is just me and Kent, so we ask that you don't send us any more frequent reimbursements than maybe monthly, because this is one of 60 for just one grant, and I have several other grants to manage, so I go through each reimbursement myself, and we set it up that way.
Quarterly's good.
Quarterly would be nice.
Right.
If you need any more frequent, then monthly would be okay as well. It says that you have to comply with your local purchasing policy. If there isn't a county purchasing policy, then you have to fall back on the states. That's the only issue that we've ran into. So documentation required for your reimbursements. We cannot pay your contractors directly. So you need to send us the county's expenditures, whether it's a check or warrant or however the county paid, invoices, and then the proof of match. So I have a spreadsheet that I've included that is on that as well, that automatically tabulates up the match if you're gonna use software in kind, and this is the very last page. And that's all I need. Go sign-in sheets, keep all that stuff for your records if you have public meetings. Like today, I have a sign-in, I didn't include a sign-in sheet. Well, yes, I did. I did, yay.
We can
So-
count the time we're here for match.
Today's,
Excellent.
everybody here that isn't federally funded, their time counts as match. So, I don't need sign-in sheets, just whomever you choose can just input, this person was here for this amount of time. If people don't wanna disclose their salaries, which is understandable, we can fall back onto the volunteer rate, which is the $22.14 an hour. And FEMA has never disputed that with us, and so we feel comfortable saying, go ahead and use it. But please keep all of your records, your financial records for auditing purposes, because FEMA has in the past audited and they could again. Section E, which is the next page, the administrative allowance. This is that $2,205 and what is allowable. So any application preparation, if you have to pay somebody to create the quarterly reports to send to me, any travel, field inspection, extra office supplies, postage, equipment, and all that can be included in this $2,205. And like I said, it doesn't need to be matched, so just send it to me separately saying we're seeking reimbursement for administrative allowance for this. But this is where it gets kind of fuzzy. I do need your receipts for the administrative allowance. So if it's a contractor that processes your quarterly reports and you're gonna charge their time to the administrative allowance, then I'm gonna need how much time they spent on it. Because that's part of our management costs, and I need to be able to keep track of all that in case FEMA asks.
If you buy a public notice in the newspaper for a public meeting, that's an eligible administrative cost.
So then the invoice and then an actual copy of the public announcement is what I need. And I'm not worried, because I know that I can call and say, hey, can you send me this? So I can put it in my records.
But if we can get it to you, that saves you time.
Absolutely.
Just keep it separate from your project costs and requests, keep it separate units, so you don't get confused. Okay.
So then, number 2, section B, your proof of local match. I don't need all the documents for your local match, but you need to keep impeccable records for that. Good time cards, receipts, logbooks. If you're using equipment, for whatever reason, keep logbooks of how much time they worked on everything. That way, if there's any questions, we can come back and look over and say, okay, FEMA, see, they have everything, so we don't need to worry about it. But they have and will, hopefully not soon, but absolutely.
We've been meeting quite a bit on this for a year or two or more, right? It probably would behoove you to go back and try and capture all that, because your local match is cumulative from day one when we started working on this. Actually, it's for this one, when was the day,
It was
opening day for the grant?
June 17th, 2011.
Okay, so June 17th forward, all the meetings we had, all those sign-in sheets, if you could summarize it on this, then you'd be ahead of the game already. And we'd accept that for a soft match. Because it's accumulated and accrued to date for the life of the grant.
And FEMA considers from the time that, this is based off of the 2011 floods, so the time that the presidential disaster declaration was declared is when the match can start being accumulated.
Nothing before that.
Okay.
Makes sense.
So section A, your reports, which is the next page. It says that the applicant must submit quarterly reports to me or to Kent no later than the 10th of these months, January, April, July, and October. And in there, it has to be the quarterly performance report, as well as, if you're seeking reimbursement, the copies of the expenditures, the bills, however the contractor sent you their payment, and then how the county paid for it and all the match. So then it talks about project closeout procedures, super easy. It's this page and the environmental page. So this would go on county letterhead. The dollar amounts would get filled in the blanks, how much did the county actually spend. It would be signed and submitted saying we are done. The difference is that I'm gonna need the engineering studies to go with it.
Sure.
So it'd be this, the engineering, and that one environmental report, because there wasn't any environmental in the project, then it should be fairly easy. And that's it.
Okay.
Uh,
Just, That's it.
Well, there could be a wrinkle here with the closeout, and I haven't done a phase one closeout since 2005. So if FEMA accepts the recommendations from your phase one pre-engineering, and we move immediately to phase two, but nothing's immediate with FEMA, so there could be some delay. But we may not have to formally close out phase one. That remains to be determined. But if so, it's just this simple letter.
Okay.
And a financial, reconciliation.
Okay.
All right, to be determined.
So I have a question.
Yes.
You've answered one and two. What exactly is FEMA looking for out of the phase one?
Okay, it's right here on your, the FEMA award letter,
Okay,
what they're looking for.
page two.
Yep.
As long as I have some guidance, I'll make sure we're really up to date on.
Page 2 of 2. There we go, Dan. Comment section, project approval is for phase one activity only. Primary purpose of phase one investigation, clearly identify the sedimentation areas and evaluate mitigation options for reduction of flood risk at each of the 14 public and private structures located throughout the study reach. Through your LiDAR, actual topography, no construction or ground disturbance is authorized. Final design and environmental documents must be submitted to Environmental Historic Preservation, that's what our EHP is, for review.
And that would be Daniel, I don't know if you've been talking to Daniel. Have you,
We have a little bit of that.
okay. So Daniel,
It's been a while.
yeah, Daniel is the one that I'll send the final engineering to.
Yeah, we got a
When it's all
preliminary,
done.
we sent him the map preliminarily and asked him if there was anything out there.
Okay,
He said, basically, not that I'm aware of, but as you get more specific, I'll need to know.
right.
So,
Awesome.
You could probably expect some back and forth with them.
yeah. I
Even
think-
after you submit it,
Yeah,
some of the clarification, what do you mean by this?
okay,
So,
Awesome,
all right.
pretty easy.
So do we have a contractor solicitation requirement with the county, or do we just follow state? Okay. The only thing I can think of that we're really gonna need to do on phase one is the LiDAR stuff, so we'll have to get that prepared and get that out. Make
you
sure
gonna
we
do
get it.
a request for proposals then?
I think that'll be part of the process, right?
Yeah,
I-
the cost of preparation of those RFPs can also be an administrative expense.
Yep,
Okay.
so you just have to send me the receipt, and that's it. And if there's ever any question, you can contact me. My point of contact information is the bottom of this award letter, my number and my email, so you can call me or email me with whatever questions you have.
Most of the time nowadays, they just do it and provide it, so it'll be more of a, probably a cost basis than anything else.
Okay. Sure. Any other questions?
Probably a lot, but somebody's gonna be handling it.
We don't know yet, yeah. I hear you.
Okay, well, we're not far away. You can call or email us at any time. Okay?
I'm looking forward to the project.
I am too.
Yeah, thank you very much.
Such a pretty area up there. I don't mind having to go up and do inspections.
We'll be bringing our fly rods too.
Very good. Well, and this is so needed for those folks up there, so.
Absolutely.
Ready?
Well, if there's no further questions, thank you very much and congratulations.
Thank you.
Very much.
Before Sean takes off, are we going to, today decide who's gonna be that administrative contact person?
Good.
Or do you want to discuss that a little bit?
Well, for the employee portion, we did ask Mike last week or the week before. But with looking at all this stuff and knowing your technical expertise, I'm wondering if you wouldn't be the best point of contact for this. I mean, you've been
Yeah.
intimately
I would,
involved.
I would like to have Mike involved and just, basically, I don't mind preparing everything and then we can, I can pass it off to him to have him check it, review it, make sure everything kind of makes sense. Thank you.
Does that work
I have
for
I have a lot to
everybody?
learn though.
Yeah.
You know, I
Thank
haven't been in
you
this position
very
too far.
much.
And I haven't handled any previous Homeland Security, or FEMA grant. Have you? You have,
I have.
yeah.
Um,
I'll be relying on your expertise.
They're-
Not my expertise.
They're fun, but no, we can get through it. It's,
That was sarcastic.
it's just, you know, we gotta, once we get the first set done, it'll be a lot easier. Once we get that first set of quarterly reports done and start moving through the process, it'll be a lot easier. So we got a little work to do in the next couple of weeks, but it won't be too bad.
So
Good luck.
our official point of contact would be you,
Okay.
and you would partner with Mike.
Yeah,
Is that
makes,
right?
makes perfect sense. So
Okay.
I'll just be the point of contact and I'll work
That'd be fine.
very closely with Mike.
I'll represent the county, and then bring issues to the commission.
Ann just asked if that was a motion. Yes. Thanks, Ann.
Second.
Yeah.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded. That Sean be our contact, and he'll work with Mike.
Okay.
All in favor, say aye.
Bye.
Opposed?
We can't vote.
Motion carried.
You can't say no now. All right.
It'll be all right. I want to learn.
I would anticipate then, how often would you like kept abreast of the activities? Would you like it once a week? I would say once a week might be a little much, but I would suggest either, you know, bi-weekly or monthly even, to just kind of keep you in the loop as to where everything's at. And, you know, I think we only need maybe, you know, 15 minutes to half an hour depending on the content. So,
We have a quarterly report in January at the end of December, so we better meet with the commissioners
beginning of January.
either that or in December, actually, last meeting in December. I don't know what your schedule is for December. So if we have any issues, we want to bring them up before the end of the quarter
Yeah.
for funding, things like that.
Oh, okay.
You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
We're totally open, so we could set it around your,
What day are you
want to be
meeting?
traveling,
You
Sean.
know, 30th?
Mhm.
So this
30th
phase
does work.
will not be
It's a Monday.
any moving of dirt.
No, none at all. What we're gonna do with this piece of it is go through, the problem with the size of this grant is it's so difficult to determine exactly what needs to be done. That's why we asked for it to be a phase 1, phase 2, so we can actually get in here, we can do some engineering determinations and figure out, okay, this bridge is X feet long and it needs to be lengthened by 30 feet or 50 feet, or whatever that happens to be.
Most of those are
Needs to be
culverts.
raised up 2 feet to accommodate flood flows. Those are the kind of things that need to happen. And that's what we're gonna do with this.
I have the original, so, and it's got the thumb drive, so if anybody wants to switch with me, you can have it.
I will switch. I even wrote in the deadline right there in yours. but
Thank you. Because I just thought you might want that thumb
I've
drive.
got it. I'm gonna put the deadline back on this one too.
What I'll start doing is researching, see if I can find anything down in the office, going back to June 13th of 2011, on these public meetings, see if I can find anything.
Yeah, and I know
I didn't attend any of them, so I don't know.
we have quite a few meetings. With your guys' permission, can I contact Bill Fleiner to try to get whatever information he had? I know I have some meeting notes from that, and I have some of that documentation, but I know
We met with the.
he had sign-in sheets for every single meeting, so I know.
I might be able to locate those.
If you can find those, then I don't have
I
to
might
bug
be
you.
able to. Also, we met with the Soil Conservation District, and we also met with the Citizens Advisory Committee,
Mhm.
and I have those notes on that.
Great.
I think bottom line is.
And
we
I've
want it all
got,
that
I've got a
way
ton of
on
time into this
Yeah.
that I haven't billed, but I have tracked that. And I can submit that at the $22 rate on behalf of Broadwater County, I think, for the match, so I will do that. And every little bit's gonna help, so,
Mhm.
I think I know where to look.
Excellent.
okay.
Try
Okay.
to go through that office and do the best I can. To work with it.
Everybody files differently than everybody else.
We sure do, don't we?
Yes, we do. Yes, we do. Okay.
So how does 11 o'clock sound on the 30th, or with you traveling, Sean, you want something later in the day?
11 o'clock's fine.
Is that what?
11 a.m.
Yeah.
Okay,
December 30th.
11 o'clock.
and would that be a Deep Creek grant update?
Yep.
Yep.
That's what that'll be. So, okay, by that time, I will see if we can get a contract from DNRC for a match. And then see if I can get something put together for a solicitation for our LiDAR.
Will that be done by the state or by private?
I would imagine private. State doesn't have that capability.
Oh,
So they always contract that stuff out. So the real key is do I need to go?
that's
I
a
think-
flight, isn't it? Aerial flight?
Yeah.
And they take photographs.
And I think I can just solicit 3, because it'll be under $50,000, so I'll have to check that to make sure, but I think we can just solicit 3.
This will be the first thing you have to get done then. This-
I think so. I mean, there's some things that we can do, but really the LiDAR is something that is gonna be the key to,
Then after that, you can get to each bridge site and start.
Yeah, we start a bridge.
then we'll get some actual
I
survey.
found pictures on all those bridge sites. I found those.
Excellent.
Photographs. Of during the flood.
Oh, I don't have those. Can I get those from you?
If I can re-find them, yes.
You found them once, I'm confident.
No, they're not. However.
The thing we'll have to check on with the LiDAR, we're kind of in a bad time of year, but if we don't have a lot of snow, we can go ahead and run the flight. But if we get, a big snowstorm, we're gonna have to wait. So
Is it something with the shadows too, this time of the year or something?
it's harder, yes.
You
But
almost on bare ground.
it's mostly, that's usually with the photographs. Right now, it's not as bad because, when they fly LiDAR, they're basically flying over top. They're shooting a light, or a laser signal basically down.
Straight down.
Straight down to the ground, which reflects back, and they record that time. Of course, they've got a little, georeferenced global positioning unit in the plane that measures elevation and speed and all that other stuff. So it's just a matter of whether we have snow or not. Having a little bit of ice on the creek, really not a big deal in my estimation, because the flows are very low, and we're not gonna have, we'll have a few pools and stuff like that that'll be covered up, but in the overall scheme of things, when we're looking at flooding type events, not even worth really worrying about. So, I guess we'll play it by ear and get it
Sounds
out there,
good.
and hopefully we can get somebody in place, ready to fly. We tell them to fly, they can just do it and get it done.
There are times like this.
Yeah,
This was excellent, thank you
that's all we have
very
anyway,
much.
so,
Okay,
perfect. All right. Anything
thanks,
else?
commissioners. No?
Thanks, guys.
Well,
Yeah,
Sounds good.
we'll see you in 2 weeks. 2 weeks?
Sounds good, yeah.
2 weeks?
2 weeks, you know what to do.
Yeah.
It's,
Fine,
went fast, yeah.
2 weeks,
Yeah,
fine.
it is. Yeah.
I can give Carla this book.
What's that?
I can give Carla this book.
Treasury?
We are, come on up there.
Oh, this will hopefully be a quick and painless visit.
We just met with DES on the Deep Creek project, and here's a copy of all the people,
Excellent, thank you. This is my copy to keep.
your copy to keep.
And there was one in here that they wanted you to read and just it's standard, but it's the one, state disaster. I wrote notes on mine, and you have one of those in yours,
Okay,
but, they said, it's boilerplate, but you should still take a look,
and I can have this one with your notes?
You can.
Okay.
Yep.
Excellent.
And then you have one that's not marked up in there.
Okay, good. Well, I'm just here to visit you about, the funds that were left over in my budget last year. I know I brought, and I think I forwarded it to you a few weeks ago, so I didn't bring several copies, but I could go over and make them after if you like, but I do have the email that I sent an email in July 11, with a formal request that the funds remaining on our FY13 budget be placed into, I believe I use CIP, isn't it Capital Improvement Program or Plan?
Plan.
Okay. You had been talking about it at the end of last budget year and encouraged, what was being discussed was the issue of people scrambling to spend money so they don't lose it. And I didn't want to do that because I knew, as we've been talking about since I got here, August 2012, first we did the computer upgrades, and now we'd like to upgrade, the office. As those of you who visit know, the shelving unit that Wendy sits at is literally being held together by scotch tape and packing tape. It's about 25 years old and it's just falling apart.
Need duct tape.
Yeah, we probably do, maybe hold it a little better, but this building sucks moisture out of everything, so. And it also is situated in such a way that we can't really use the office space very efficiently, so the plan is to tear that out. We also have talked with Mike about moving a wall. The office where I'm presently located would be made smaller and another office made adjacent to it, so that we would then, with the victim advocate office, we would have 3 office spaces plus a reception area for the legal secretary. And that's in anticipation of hopefully at some point having a part-time or full-time deputy. Somewhere down the road it's gonna happen. But it's just, it may not happen this year, it may not happen next year, but that's where Broadwater County's going, and the courthouse is not gonna grow. So we have to figure out a way to fit it in there. And then that would also, as you know, we had a clerk this summer, and he had to share an office with Brooke, and it makes it difficult because 2 people talking on the phone, meeting with people, it's just important to have a separate workspace if possible. So Mike has indicated that we can achieve that with minimal funds, because he and Jerry would do the work to move the wall. And so, again, we were looking at paint, carpet, which I guess I'm not sure where you guys are at with renovating the top floor of the courthouse, so I know that Mike hopes to achieve that, to build on what was done downstairs. And so, of course, I was hoping that if that was going to happen, that the paint and the carpet would go out of that whole budget, because it wasn't taken out of the departments downstairs when it happened downstairs. But in any case, we have a need to purchase furniture for 4 workstations. A number of our file cabinets are not locking and cannot be made locking, and by law, we should have our files, and the majority of our files should be kept in locking cabinets. So we can keep some of what we have, but we need to get some new ones. And so basically, I found, through exercising great frugality and achieving cost savings wherever I could, I found myself at the end of FY13 with a savings of $9,537.07. And that was a combined savings from the general county attorney budget, the law library budget, and there was about $848.72 left in that investigator line, which is, in the new budget, we just got rid of it entirely because we don't have an investigator in my office. That was funds, it was a little bit of funds left over from when Mr. Naff was, I believe, a part-time investigator under Mr. Flynn. So, I didn't want to rush and buy whatever to spend that money, because I knew that using it combined with, assuming we got our budget approved for FY14, which we did, but it was, obviously there's a gap of time there, and that process wasn't formalized, I think, until early October, late September. I don't remember the dates, but in any case, putting that $9,500 and change together with the funds that we requested from the city to be dedicated to our department gives us much more money so that we can buy best quality, which I believe, I'm not sure if it's specific in the policies in Broadwater County, but generally, the county where I was employed before, and generally in municipalities, the practice is not that you spend a ton, but that you buy good quality things that will last. And minus this money from last year, I was not gonna be able to buy the kind of quality furniture such as was purchased in the district court clerk office and in the clerk and recorder office when they did their remodels. That's Hone Furniture, they purchased it through Pops. Pops works really hard to give us a good deal when we do a whole renovation like that, and they will deliver it, put it together, everything for us, and they will do a good price. But you get the better price by doing it all at once. So I didn't want to spend that money, not knowing for sure I had other money coming. So basically what I'm here to do is just to, I made the formal request, and we had a department meeting. I'm sorry if I'm a little scattered, I'm a little bit, only half here this week, but as you guys know, I had surgery last week. So, and I'm starting to feel better, but I'm still in recovery, so I had sent a request just to verify the amount, and again, I got the amounts just by taking those reports that we get at the end of the month saying this is what you had, so this was I don't think it came until, I didn't have an actual number when I wrote you the email in July and asked that whatever was left we got to keep. The number came, I think, in late July or early August when we got the end of year report from the accounting department, to total that 95, again, 3707. And so I just wanted to verify that that money is there. I don't know where exactly, because it doesn't show up on the budget for this year, obviously, but that it's there and that we can spend it. We're getting to a point now, I've been talking with Mike, and he's been taking care of some heating issues and stuff that's popped up when you turn the heat on. Some plumbing issues, people need to remember to close the bathroom door so our plumbing doesn't freeze. And of course the clearing the sidewalks, but he anticipates having some time. Basically, they're gonna have to move us out of our office for about a week to get it done, to get everything done. I have already told him I was willing, and Brooke has also said that she is willing, and I believe Wendy as well. We're all willing to show up that week in overalls and paint and do whatever we can to help to get the renovation done as quickly as possible. I think we're all sufficiently skilled enough from prior experience to do painting without any problem. It's not specifically in our job description, but because of the limited space in the courthouse, we're just gonna have to be torn down for that period of time. We won't have access to all of our files and our computer, so this way we will still be working. And we will obviously set aside as many tasks as we can also to keep busy in other ways, but basically before I contract with Pops on the furniture, I just wanted to be sure that I have this additional $9,500 available to draw on before making a contract with them.
Where do they get their furniture from?
They being Pops?
Mhm.
I'm not sure. I guess it's shipped from various manufacturers. I know that brand, I think it's called Hone. I don't think it's Hun, but H-O-N is the spelling of it. We had the same kind of furniture in the county attorney's office in Hill County actually, but it's, the ones I'm talking about down in the clerk and recorder's office, that all those matching units, and Fallon, Audrey have similar units up here. All I know is that they worked through Pops, and I have been looking for many months now, just whenever I have a few minutes here and there. There is cheaper furniture available, but it will not last as long, and it will not look as professional or as good. That's the same thing, I guess, but, so, the idea obviously would be that if we get this done, we won't have to do it again for 25 years. And I think that's about the last time that, I think there've been some odds and ends, purchased or donated or whatever, but like we have those funky orange painted bookcases, and we have mismatched furniture that doesn't appear very professional, plus, like I said, the counters falling apart and all that kind of thing. So this would get us uniform, professional looking office. Pops helps work with you on how to set it up so that it's maximum efficiency. Obviously, I hope that by showing you that I saved $9,500 out of our budget last year, that proves that, I'm being frugal, and I will be frugal as well with, we're not gonna buy the fanciest stuff we can afford. We're gonna buy something that's durable, quality, and meets our needs, is usable in our space, but certainly, you know, I'm not gonna be bringing home any solid mahogany. I'm probably, after talking with the Pops sales guy the last time he came by a few months ago, I would probably go with the similar line, and that has the added effect of people go in the district court office, and then they go to the county attorney's office, and there's a similar look, you know, and then the clerk and recorder, so that, you know, we're not all totally distinct entities or whatever. So we would probably go with that similar line, and I believe it, you know, it runs, when you're talking about desk unit, any hutch that we may need, some drawers and chair, and we're gonna need to buy one work table for doing our evidence discovery and photocopying and all that, but you're looking in a range of like $3,000 per workstation. Maybe a little more, maybe a little less. And again, we need some bookcases and we need some file cabinets. I'm not aware, I can ask and inquire as to whether, I assume that they, just for shipping's sake, I would think that they buy from a local distributor if it's possible or available to them. The other entities I looked at though were less local, like National Business Furniture, you could buy through their catalog, and they usually include the freight. I don't believe that they provide the same service with setting it up though, which means I don't know how many days for Mike and Jerry to try to put our furniture together, and it's not something that there is, whereas Pops, we did purchase, one thing I did spend money on right before the end of the fiscal year, because I knew we needed it, and it was gonna work with whatever furniture we got. We bought a large supply cabinet to put all of our supplies in. They were just kind of everywhere, and a lot of them were spread out in this shelving unit that's falling apart and is gonna have to come apart. And, you know, Pops brought that and they put it together for us and gave us a very good price on it. So, that's who the other offices have used, and I think if there's any, I don't know if, on this level, we have to go through a competitive bidding or procurement process for just this kind of thing. But just based on the testimonial of the other electeds who've used that service, that one's felt the district court clerk, and I guess it was actually under Rhonda Nelson that the clerk and recorder's office was renovated, but Doug was there, Ann was there. So you guys, you use Pops, and they did a great job, it looks like, and obviously quality furniture, which should last, like I said, a couple decades at least, assuming that they take good care of it, which we plan to.
The reason I asked on the furniture is the prison has a furniture department, or they used to.
Oh, really?
And they built the furniture.
They build it right there at the.
And it was very nice stuff, but I don't know if they're still doing that or not.
Yeah, I would be happy to look into that. It would be kind of
They are, I
interesting.
think they had a deal with that last conference.
Did they?
It would be
I'm
an
sure.
interesting little story anyway, to have our furniture made by former defendants. So I can certainly look into that. I mean, I haven't made any choices yet, specifically in part because I can't really make any choices until I know exactly what dollar limit I have to spend. And again, so we had planned on, and I had told you that when it came with my budget, the 18,000 that came from the city would largely go to this endeavor, and then with this added to it. And obviously, if we achieve savings, again, we're not gonna look to just spend as much as we can. If there's money left over at the end of the year and we don't have another CIP request or another reason that we would need to keep it internally, then certainly I have no objection to that. You know, going back to the county, but our hope again, obviously, and I'm not gonna ask you about that today, but we are still hoping to expand our staff at least a little bit to try to cover the caseload and demands on the office. But and so that money could go to that, so that's basically, that's an issue for another day. So I guess basically, because not having done this before, I know Commissioner Overt, you had mentioned that this is standard in many counties, that savings at the end of the budget year are just carried over for the department to use, and there's an automatic process. And here we were doing it for the first time, and I remember when we had the department heads in here, I think in September, you had said, you know, we're still trying to achieve that for folks, but I just don't know what the next step is, because I don't have like a accounting sheet that says, here's your money, it's here, you can spend it, and that's basically what I'm looking for. for. I don't wanna make a contract, obviously, with a vendor, before I know that for sure that I have the money to spend. So that we don't have to, scramble and make some kind of last minute changes or whatever.
I can address that a little bit, if that's all right. We haven't officially set up the CIPs simply because we just don't have the, ability to do that yet. It is still a goal, and yeah, a lot of other counties do it, and it does save the county money because you do alleviate that spend it or lose it concept, which is just wasteful. So it is I think, very wise budgeting. You do still have that money.
Okay.
There was about a 1.4% reduction
Okay.
in it, and that was due to the Department of Revenue 11th hour event,
Okay.
for lack of a better word.
So is that actually more toward the current budget, the 1.4% reduction?
Yeah,
Oh,
so
okay.
your savings would have been in part due to your portion of the mills, and then the leftover monies and the other revenue sources. So for the mills portion, that would have been reduced by 1.4%, which would have hit your excess, which is at 9,500, and that went into a capital line versus a CIP. So you have that, it's yours, it's slightly reduced.
Okay.
And it's really been policy, it was with Rhonda, it was with Val, that if you are a smart budgeter and you end the year with a surplus and you put together a plan to renovate an office and tear down a falling apart desk, that, that is your management and that is your office and you are an elected official. We don't micromanage your budgets. Rhonda, if I'm not mistaken, used mineral royalty funds. There is about 4,500 sitting in that. So if you did, run a little bit short with the money the city pays and then this 9,500, that could be a source to help bridge any gaps. And Mike just finished that training that makes him certified to do anything.
Yeah.
So,
He's excited about that, so.
Yeah, we've got him
We don't
in-house.
think we have, the wall that we're moving, I don't think there's anything electrical or anything in it. We can't tell for sure until we get the bookcases moved. There might be one plug, but yeah, he did say if there was an outlet, he could still move that, that wouldn't be a problem. But it doesn't appear, it's not a load-bearing wall, so it shouldn't have any effects on above us or below us. It's just that, so essentially what we're planning to do, I'm probably gonna move into the space where Brooke is now. The space that I'm in is very warm in the winter, and Brooks is not, and she runs a space heater because she's cold and I am not. So we talked about that, she's happy with doing a switch there. Actually, whichever of the two that she wants to use, it will be up to her to decide. But yeah, and then hopefully, like I said, we'll have another space and that will be available at very least for a law clerk in the summers, but maybe even for another staff person at some point. So I guess then my only question beyond verifying that so the 90, I'm not good at math, but the 95, the number minus 4% is what will be available.
Yes.
And,
Except the law library. That's
Okay.
under a different, we might need to do because it's a different fund,
right.
we might need to do a journal entry for
To
that.
just adjust
But,
it, okay.
yeah, but it's still yours, so.
Right, yeah, I mean, we don't technically now, and a number of the smaller counties have done that, in part because we are just 30 minutes away from the Capitol, and the state maintains a law library there with old-fashioned things called books that people can go pull down and look through. Many of the smaller counties in particular, where there've been court restraints on courthouse space, have gotten rid of the books, and we've done that as well. So the majority of our budget for our law library goes to paying for online access to digitized law books and case law. And then we also purchase every year the new edition of the Code Annotated, and we have an older. We usually keep at least the prior edition. Right now, I think I might have two on hand because one of them is in Brooks' office. And I'm certainly willing, whenever necessary, to make those available to the public. We had talked at one point during the budget process, you and I, Commissioner Obert, about whether to integrate those two, but for now, we just decided to leave it how it was. I don't know at some point if we want to do that. And we actually achieved a great deal of savings in that budget last year because we were paying about twice as much as we needed to for digital access. There's another company that provides it less expensively, and given the amount of time that we use it, it was a better deal. So I guess my only then functional question is, in terms of billing against those funds, would I just go ahead and create claims against, this would be operating costs, I believe, under the budget line, and let accounting help me figure out how to move things around? Okay, all right.
We do bottom line budgeting.
So I shall go over the bottom line. Right?
Exactly.
Yeah, because I know that at some point we go through an amendment process to move things on. Maybe that's one way to do it, but as long as I know the funds are there, I can spend up to X amount and, okay.
I think we should get some estimates, shall we, on different things, especially on those filing cabinets don't lock, I'd say get those taken care of. Some of this other stuff, I don't know, I think you better get some, and check with this prison furniture maybe.
Okay, and so I guess, I am willing to look a little bit into that, but I just want to clarify so that I'm not doing anything improperly. It's not, doing this kind of an internal upgrade does not require like a bidding process or that kind of thing.
No.
Not unless it reaches $50,000.
Yeah, and we're well below that.
I thought so.
Like I said, I have been doing some comparison shopping, looking through business furniture catalogs for probably almost a year now, just here and there when I can. And I will certainly do a little bit more of that. I'm gonna take those home when I go home a little early today. I don't know, I don't want you to think, I hope again, that the savings we achieved in our budget last year proves that we're being cost conscious and careful with how we spend it. I would not, I don't know, are you asking me to come back and give you I am trying to do this bearing in mind as I've been to visit you a few weeks ago, telling you about what the caseload is in the office, and I get these various citizen complaints that I'm not working hard enough or long enough, and I obviously don't agree with those few complaints that I hear, and I think most people know that I am in fact working very hard, very long, and I don't have, and so I'm trying to get at is I don't have endless hours to put into figuring out how to save the I'm gonna try very hard to be frugal about this, but are you asking me to bring you proposals? Is that what you're asking, that I have to provide competing proposals for different kinds of furniture and you're gonna tell me which ones I'm allowed to get, or what are you asking for?
I think we need a proposal, all right.
What I would say is get a hold of Paul at Pops
Okay. Yeah, he's the one that I've spoken with before.
and tell him to put together 2 or 3 possibilities. And take the burden off of your shoulders. You've got enough to do. Have him put together some stuff.
Okay.
Tell him what you want.
But would I be free to make the, I guess, I don't know why, and I'm not gonna beat my head against a brick wall, but every time I've come to this commission to talk about money at all, Commissioner Slivka always says, it seems to me that you're voicing an opinion that you don't trust my management of the funds of my budget, and I don't understand that because I have achieved almost $10,000 in savings over the budget last year, and so I don't know why you feel that way. And when I asked you in the past, please point to something and tell me, my budget's a public record. Please point to my budget and show me where we're spending it wrong, and you don't have substantive answers, you just say, it's just how I feel. And so now again, I feel like I'm coming to you, and I am a department head like any other department head. I guess I could check with the clerk and recorder's office and the district court clerk's office, but I don't believe that, did you hold their hand while they were doing the renovation, and did you sign off on every little decision, or did they make those independently using their own discretion as a fellow elected official?
You are not our employee. We are on an even keel, even line. The only time when we have authority over another elected official is in establishing the budget. Once the budget is established, then we are on an even line again. With all of the elected officials, once you have your budget, it's your budget. Don't go over it, because then you have to come to us, and then we have to
Well,
play
actually, yes.
parent.
I do, and
But
in
you're not
fact,
doing that. And so micromanaging somebody who is an equal partner is, in my opinion, way overstepping the bounds here. So, no, we haven't held the hand or micromanaged any of the other
And we
elected
won't.
officials. I don't believe we
But it only
should.
makes good sense to get some estimates and get some information.
I will definitely ask Paul to provide me with a couple of different scenarios, and then I guess in order to do that, to know, so that I can tell him, and you know, I'm not dumb, I'll certainly tell him less than what I really can spend, so that he is frugal too, because he's a businessman, and obviously wanna sell you whatever you're willing to buy, but, can you give me an idea, I guess one of the critical questions is the commission going to fund the carpeting and painting of the second floor? Because we can't do the one without the minute we tear out that unit, there's no carpet underneath it, it makes a huge mess, we have to do it all at once.
I can't speak for three, but we did it downstairs, why wouldn't we do it upstairs?
That's certainly how those of us upstairs feel, but,
Well, we've got these ripples in the carpet. Nothing's been done for 30 years. At some point, we either watch this building fall down around our ears, or we do our job and we maintain this building. So I'm with Elaine. It needs to be done in stages, you know, to do it all at once is just biting off way too much. But yeah, I do see this as the next step.
I think, you know, we had talked about trying to get this done, and again, we have to work around the district court judge's calendar and try to, we obviously have to find a week when we can have no court, because if we can't get in our office and do things, we can't show up at court with files. So we were gonna try to find something in January if possible, because we are gearing up toward a fairly major trial, the end of February, early March. So that's kind of what we're shooting at, and I had already had a proposal provided to me by Townsend Carpet. They came and looked, and the carpet portion for the space is around under 2,500 total. And then Mike indicated it wouldn't be that much in cost for the paint. And I don't know, sorry, bless you.
Thank you.
I think he was also talking about minimal materials for, he's basically gonna have to buy some sheetrock to do the wall thing. So I guess I would guess that under 4,000 total for all of that. It's kind of a guesstimate, and I can come back with, but I'm just sort of, so when you say we have to do the top floor in stages, that's fine, and I understand, and can we start with this office so we can get our other part of it done that we're funding? Can we have, I mean, are you guys, and do you need to have a vote on that, or what do you need to do to say, I know it's just, I think it's just general upkeep.
We need to make sure there's money in the building maintenance fund, which right now is looking pretty good.
Okay,
And I would suggest we leave it to Mike.
okay.
And if he's already working on that, I would imagine, just knowing him, that he's gonna put together a plan of what is a smart progression of the work.
Okay, so I
That'd
will.
just be my thought.
You know, and I guess I will just say, just to reiterate for anybody who might have a concern, I will get on the phone with Paul and say, this is, I know now how much I have, and this is how much I can spend, and can you provide me with some proposals? And I will keep the record of everything on file in my office with my budget. And I'd be happy to open that up and show it to any citizen who wants to come in and see, or any of you, if you wanna follow up and see, you know, what we had to choose from. I assume he's gonna put together very similar packages with just different, stuff. I will make a point of looking into myself whether there's any cheaper quality furniture available through Deer Lodge.
And I don't know that they still do it.
If they have a Furniture Works there. I will
They
look.
used to.
My pen's right here, I think.
It would kind of be a neat way to go, if,
Yeah,
you know,
just-
depending on.
Well, you know, it does kind of have a certain justice to it, I guess. So, yeah, and I had, at one point, I think I had sent you guys a letter requesting mineral royalties. I think now, with the savings and the city funds, we should have plenty to do. Unless we encounter something that's unexpected in that wall, but I don't think we will. We should be fine to get by, and like I said, if we have some savings left over, we'll obviously either spend it appropriately for other needs of the office, or maybe be able to give it back at the end of this fiscal year.
Those offices there across the hall used to be courtroom.
Or were they?
Mhm.
Yeah. Well, I know we've talked, Michael and I, a little bit about eventually, you know, because yes, we do have some really bad hazards in the carpeting in here and a fair amount of traffic. It's probably just from people pushing the chairs back, but it is what it is. He and I were talking about the wood in here and how it might have been, we're not sure what it looked like underneath that paint, but now it is what it is.
The benches are what they were.
Yeah, those are lovely, obviously, but
Up here is a different story. And there was quite a to-do about it.
Really?
with the,
At one point in time, my mother made Coopers to go across there because during the 60s with the short
Oh,
skirts.
yeah.
Oh,
You
yes.
needed a
because
modesty
it was open,
panel.
absolutely.
well, I have seen older courthouses where they had little curtains
Mhm.
built in there, so.
Yeah.
At one point you had, and I think it's moved off the agenda, so I won't get into it in too much detail, but, with regard to the DOR issue, are you gonna put that back on the agenda and we can talk a little bit? And again, just to clarify for the record, I did call my office and I did text Commissioner Obert that day and let you know that I was acutely ill. I had, like I said, I had surgery last week, I had my gallbladder removed, and first, it was progressively, I've been sick for months, and working through it, but it was progressively becoming more acute, and there were a few times when I was under medication and just not in, the condition to come to the office, and I don't think anybody should come to work when they're acutely ill and in so much pain that they really can't be articulate. And I appreciate, I guess I wanna take the opportunity, while I'm here on the record, to extend my thank yous to those of you who have been very supportive of me. I appreciate it. I'm sorry that the fact that I'm human and ill has apparently caused some consternation among some of the citizens, and I'm sorry. All I can say is I'm sorry, and I am human, and I do get ill. Commissioner Gravely, you certainly
I
understand
well
that.
understand that.
But I am still doing my best. During the time that I was ill, I never put in less than 40 hours. I just sometimes had to put them in at creative times. This week, on doctor's orders, I am working about half-time, and hopefully we'll be back to full-time by next week or the week after. But there does come a point where you have to accept that you cannot make everybody happy, and you can't not take care of yourself in the attempt to make everybody happy, because it's a fruitless endeavor.
Are you feeling better?
I am starting to. I'm having some significant pain today, but I did have a bench trial this morning, and so I only took ibuprofen, and I think shortly after finishing with you folks, I'm gonna have to head home and bring some things home that I can work on at home and take a little bit more, something with a little bit more of an edge to it, because I'm having a little bit of acute pain at one. They do a bunch of incisions, and my surgeon told me that my gallstone was so large, she almost had to cut me open to get it out, because it was hard to tug it through that little hole. So apparently I had one very, very large gallstone.
So do they change your diet? Is that what they do?
You know, obviously they cautioned you to be careful what you eat at first. I haven't had any issue, once everything started to work again, I haven't had any issues, and my surgeon actually had said that because my gallstone was so large, there's a good chance that it has not been. I was initially diagnosed with gallbladder issues over 2 years ago, and I just haven't had time to take care of it.
There comes a time that you have to.
Right, and I was at that point, and she indicated that it's possible that my gallbladder had become so non-functioning that, other than causing me extreme pain at times and moderate pain all the time, it probably wasn't doing much of its job, and my liver's probably already gotten up to speed with taking up the slack. So in that case, I might have a better adjustment in terms of eating and the results of eating. So, but I'm not gonna run out and get any pizzas from the Betsy anytime soon, as much as I love them. Anyway, is there anything else that you guys need from me from this?
No.
All right, well, thank you very much for taking the time to meet with me, I appreciate it.
Get better soon.
Thank you, and just let me know when you're ready to talk about that issue. I do have some thoughts to share. There's not much we can do about what the courts have done to us, but we can try to be proactive about how to handle it going forward.
Thank you.
So, all right, thank you.
I don't know why that's not on the agenda, although I take full responsibility for that. I've been, taking this down to Tammy and working on the agenda with her, and I think it just fell right out of my brain. So whenever you guys wanna add it, we certainly can.
Speak up a little bit.
Okay,
Okay, come on up, pretty lady.
Thank you very much. So this is the Lake Vista subsequent minor subdivision
And where is
Just
this
north?
located?
of Townsend, I read you wrong. Just north of town, Highway 287 runs here. Townsend is this direction, Montana Rail Link is here. There's a strip of property, it's still on the books as the proposed North Country Homes subdivision, but right here is Grandview Manor. Here's some vacant land, and right here is the mansion. So right
Say
now,
that
this
again,
is
please.
the whole thing?
Yes,
Okay.
sorry,
No, that's okay.
I'm trying to visualize.
Right, so this is Highway 287 running towards Helena. Helena is north here, Townsend is south here. There's a strip of property right here, North Country Homes subdivision, Randy Smith. And then just on the other side of this long 20-acre piece is Grandview Manor, is right here. This is some vacant land here, and then right about in this area is the Canyon Ferry Mansion.
So is this proposed subdivision in a hayfield? Okay,
Yes, it is. And actually, just to give you a little bit of history on this, the gentleman that had proposed this subdivision originally, gosh, back in 2007, I believe, proposed a subdivision by the same name, Lake Vista major subdivision, that was 40-some odd lots. So now what they're doing, they've decided that 40 lots isn't really where they want to be. They want to do 5 lots. And these are mixed-use, residential, commercial. So they're advertising them for sale for residential, commercial, which is great, I think, for the area, especially with the highway being right here.
and this probably doesn't matter, but is it Lake Visa or Vista?
Vista,
I'm missing a T.
yes, there is. You're right.
And then the agenda, you're missing an A, so that's why I was confused.
Just keep you on your toes.
Thank you for that.
You're welcome. So since this is a subsequent minor subdivision, this was originally the Boston minor subdivision. So it was reviewed as a major. A public hearing was held, no public comment whatsoever, written, in person, phone calls, emails, nothing. I think that maybe the folks, the adjacent landowners, were just glad that it was 5 lots maybe instead of 40. So. Would you like me to paraphrase the findings of fact report or read it verbatim?
verbatim, please.
All right. So this is the findings of fact report for the Lake Vista subsequent minor subdivision. The preliminary plat here is dated May 7th, 2013. The date of application was September 18th, 2013. They attained sufficiency October 15th, 2013. We held a public hearing November 20th, and the review period ends January 14th. The applicants are EDJ LLC. The 2 gentlemen that run that company, James Nelson and Eldo Heimley, are out of Belgrade, Montana. The applicant's representative is Bernadette Swinson of Shaver Surveying. This proposed subdivision is located off of US Highway 287, approximately 4 miles northwest of the city of Townsend. Proposal. This property was previously subdivided and is known as Lot B2 of the amended Fossum subdivision. Since this is a subsequent minor subdivision of record, the review process is similar to that of a major subdivision. The developers intend to create 5 lots from an existing 90-acre parcel. The minimum lot size proposed is 14.92 acres, and the maximum lot size proposed is 20.08 acres. These lots are being submitted for review as commercial residential lots. Purchasers of the lots will have the option of utilizing these parcels for commercial property, residential property, or both, as long as the wastewater treatment systems comply with either DEQ or the Environmental Health Office, depending on the acreage of the lot. The required preliminary review fee of $2,000, the weed inspection fee of $300, and the environmental health review fee of $300 have all been paid. 2 of the lots proposed are subject to DEQ review. The remaining 3 lots are greater than 20 acres and therefore will be reviewed by the Broadwater County Sanitarium.
Neither covenants nor a homeowners association are proposed at this time. However, prior to obtaining final plat approval, the developers will be required to draft a road management plan for the interior subdivision road. Review is performed pursuant to Montana Subdivision and Plating Act, section 76.3.101 through 76.3.614 Montana Codes Annotated, and the Broadwater County Subdivision Regulations. The proposed preliminary plat, Lake Vista Minor Subdivision, as submitted by the applicants, together with the required supplementary plans and information, appear to satisfy the requirements of these regulations and comply with the Broadwater County Growth Policy Plan dated July 2012. Physical conditions. A vicinity map as well as a preliminary plat is provided in the preliminary plat application. No rock outcroppings or the presence of bedrock have been identified on the property. The nearest open water body is the Canyon Ferry Lake Reservoir, which is approximately 0.3 miles to the east. The proposed development is not in an area subject to flood hazard. Water supply. Each lot will be served by an individual well. DEQ will review 2 of the lots for well locations. An existing well is located on this parcel. A copy of the well log report is located in the preliminary plat application as item number 14. This well is 138 feet deep and static water level is 73 feet. Yield is 40 gallons per minute. Information for 38 water rights in the area are also enclosed in the preliminary plat application. Wastewater treatment. Individual wastewater treatment systems are proposed for all 5 lots. 3 of these lots will be reviewed by the Broadwater County Sanitarian for location and depth of systems. 2 of the lots will be reviewed by Montana Department of Environmental Quality for the adequacy and impact of the wastewater treatment systems on groundwater quality. DEQ will issue a determination of non-significant impacts and a certificate of subdivision approval, which must be presented to the county for recordation of the final plat. Solid waste. Lot owners will be responsible for disposal of their own solid waste. Subdivision residents will have the option of hiring an independent contractor to pick up their solid waste or transport it themselves to the Broadwater County Transfer Station, Winston Canister Site, or the Townsend Canister Site. Drainage. All roadway drainage structures will be designed in accordance with regulations as required by Broadwater County and DEQ. An existing drainage runs through lots 2, 3, and 5. A drainage easement is shown on the preliminary plat. Current land use of this parcel is vacant land. Effects on agriculture. Even though this property would be considered prime farmland if it were irrigated, this subdivision should not have an effect on agricultural productivity since it is not currently utilized for any agricultural purposes. There is an unused irrigation pipeline easement that is currently being abandoned by the developers. The responsibility to maintain boundary fences will be the individual landowners. The developer will be required to control any noxious weeds until the property is turned over to the subsequent landowners. An environmental assessment was prepared and is found in the preliminary plat application. Letters requesting input from public agencies along with responses received are provided as well. Geology. No falls, slides, or slumps, or adverse soil, rock, mud, or snow have been identified on the property. No rock outcroppings have been identified either. The property is located within the Intermountain Seismic Belt that extends through western Montana and frequently produces small earthquakes and has previously developed some major earthquakes. Property damage and risk can be minimized with construction techniques and earthquake planning. Vegetation. There are no marsh, shrub, or forest lands located on the property. There are no trees or vegetation cover. Existing vegetation consists of light native grasses and some prickly pear cactus. No critical plant species have been identified. Existing vegetation will only be disturbed for necessary construction of roads, driveways, utilities, and structures. Any construction disturbance will be reseeded with an approved grass seed mix. A weed management plan is in the process of being developed with assistance by the Broadwater County Weed Coordinator to control and prevent the growth of noxious weeds. The developer will be responsible for adhering to the weed management plan until all lots are sold or the responsibility is turned over to a homeowners association. Effects on wildlife and habitat. Wildlife such as antelope, deer, upland game birds, other small birds, snakes, rabbits, fox, and coyote occasionally utilize the proposed subdivision. However, the use is infrequent due to the lack of cover in prime feeding areas as well as the close proximity to nearby residential development and a busy highway. Therefore, the impacts to wildlife should be minimal. Effects on historical features. A letter was sent to the Montana Historical Society on June 14, 2007. Again, that goes back to the major, but obviously nothing historic has happened in the last 6 years. To determine if there are any known historical, cultural, or archaeological sites which may be affected by the proposed development. A response letter was not enclosed in the preliminary plat application. Effects on roads. Access to all lots will be off of the proposed internal subdivision road, Alaska Road, via US Highway 287. Alaska Road is proposed as a 1,283.35 foot road ending in a cul-de-sac at the intersecting point of lots 2, 3, 4, and 5. This road will have a 60-foot easement right-of-way with a 24-foot road surface per the Broadwater County subdivision regulations. The subdivision road will be designed by a registered professional engineer and constructed to the Broadwater County subdivision road standards. Prior to receiving final plat approval, the road material must also be tested and comply with the Broadwater County road standards. Utilities. Utility service will be provided by Northwestern Energy. Natural gas service is not currently available. An overhead transmission line traverses the subdivision through lots 2 and 5. An easement is shown on the preliminary plat, however, an actual width has not been determined by the utility company. A letter dated May 15, 2013 was mailed to Northwestern Energy. To date, a response has not been received. Effects on emergency services. The proposed subdivision is in the Broadwater County Rural Fire District jurisdiction. The distance from the nearest fire station, the City of Townsend Fire Hall, to the subdivision is approximately 4 miles. According to a letter addressed to the Broadwater County Rural Fire Department dated May 15, 2013, the developer is requesting to pay the per lot cash in lieu of water supply fee of $1,000 per lot, payable at the time of sale and closing on each lot. A response letter received from Fire District Chief Ed Schindel states that the Fire Board is in agreement with this proposal. The Broadwater County Sheriff's Department will provide law enforcement services. The Sheriff's Department is located approximately 4 miles from the proposed subdivision. The Broadwater Health Center, also located in Townsend, will provide both ambulance and emergency medical services to the subdivision residents. Effects on schools. The proposed subdivision is served by the Townsend schools. This subdivision could potentially produce 7 to 8 students according to figures obtained from the Broadwater County Growth Policy Plan. The potential for new students from this development could have an impact on existing bus routes, which may need to be altered once the subdivision is at full build-out. A letter to Townsend schools dated May 15, 2013 requesting comments is enclosed in the preliminary plat application. To date, a response has not been received. Effects on land use. Lands to the north of this property are part of a proposed subdivision. Lands to the south are residential and agricultural. Lands to the east are US Highway 287 and Fish, Wildlife, and Parks property. Lands to the west are Burlington Northern, Santa Fe Railroad, and Bureau of Land Management property. Effects on public health and safety. Since the property is bordered on the east by the heavily traveled US Highway 287, and to the west lies the Burlington Northern Santa Fe Railroad, these could potentially pose a serious risk to the safety of the subdivision residents, especially to children and domestic animals. These risks can be mitigated by proper setbacks, fencing, and homeowner awareness. Parks and recreation facilities. Since the acreage of these proposed parcels are greater than 5 acres, the parkland dedication requirement is not required for this proposed development. It is hereby ordered that the preliminary plat for the Lake Vista subsequent minor subdivision is approved, subject to the conditions listed below. Final plat approval shall be contingent upon completion and compliance with these conditions. Number 1, plans for sewage treatment and water supply shall be submitted to the Montana Department of Environmental Quality and the Broadwater County Health Department for review and approval. The certificate of subdivision approval shall be filed with the final plat. Number 2, stormwater drainage plan shall be submitted to DEQ for review and recommendation. All specifications and requirements of the approved plan shall be met. 3, the applicant shall provide proof that the irrigation pipeline to be plugged and abandoned does not hinder or prevent the delivery of water to any valid water users, and that any and all water rights associated with the pipeline system downstream of the proposed plug location, including the subject property, have been abandoned in accordance with Montana Department of Natural Resources and Conservation regulations. Number 4, the subdivision road must be designed and constructed in accordance with the Broadwater County subdivision road standards. A professional engineer registered in the state of Montana shall provide acceptable evidence from an approved independent testing agency attesting to the depth, gradation, and compaction of the installed road material, and shall certify the as-built conditions to the county that all roadways meet the Broadwater County subdivision road standards. 5, prior to any development, an approach permit shall be requested from the Montana Department of Transportation. All requirements of an approved permit shall be met. Number 6, the power line easement width and subsequent no-build zone must be shown on the final plat. The no-build zone shall be 60 feet in width. Number 7, the applicant will be required to submit the preliminary and final plat drawings in electronic format to Broadwater County in ArcGIS, AutoCAD, or MicroStation format. Additional materials may be requested by the county in electronic format to facilitate review of application materials. Number 8, plans for the location and installation of individual mailboxes shall be reviewed and approved by the United States Postal Service prior to installation. Number 9, The applicant and the Fire Protection Authority having jurisdiction shall use their best efforts to draft a fire protection plan specifically for this subdivision in accordance with the Broadwater County subdivision regulations. The plan shall be equally acceptable to the FPHJ, the applicant, and the county governing authority. The plan shall adequately address the fire risk analysis, all findings of fact, and appropriate mitigation measures. In the event the parties are unable to come to agreement by the final plat submittal, the applicant shall become eligible to provide the per lot cash in lieu fee for water supply as may be defined in the Broadwater County subdivision regulations in effect at the time of submittal. 10. Prior to any development and/or soil disturbance, a weed management plan for the proposed development shall be submitted to the county weed district for review and approval.